The Chad Billings Game. About the author. This book was created by Dylan Herbert, who has created and written 5 other titles. These titles include Jingle Man Volume 1, Dearly Beloved Volume 1, Sergio, Even Lilies Weep, The Vent People, and Mr. Goosehead. This title, The Chad Billings Game, Part 1, is Dylan's 6th book. This book is the first part of the Chad Billings series. All works by Dylan thus far relate to each book, diving deeper to create a world of horror as you learn more of the world of the Websters, Detective Wayne Clark, the Wayward, Earth, and those affected by the various characters. You will be captivated as you go down this rabbit hole. A boy wakes up, not knowing where he is. A mysterious voice tells him he is number 14. He and over 100 other people must fight through the forest and beat the Chad Billings game. Beyond the forest is the Holy City of Jericho. However, what is in the forest? Why can't he remember anything before this day? Will he get his memories back? All works by Dylan Herbert are based on experiences he has had in his lifetime, and most characters describe people he has met. Although the stories are exaggerated, there are still true experiences he has had during his lifetime or experiences others have told to him. In 2022, Dylan began this journey. This is the 5th book. The Chad Billings Game is its own story. However, it gradually is connected to the other books. You only need to have basic knowledge of other characters who were introduced in his previous books. This book introduces new characters to the series. This book can be found on YouTube, Spotify, Wattpad, Amazon, Apple iBooks, and Goodreads. Thanks for reading. Chapters are better known as the table of contents and are as follows. About the author. Chapter 1, The Pits. Chapter 2, The 4 Kings. Chapter 3, The Thief. Chapter 4, The Banquet of Blood. Chapter 5, The Speech of the King. Chapter 6, Before the Forgotten Lands of Yapitar Magnus. Chapter 7, Enter the Forgotten Lands of Yapitar Magnus. Chapter 8, Rotten Apple. Chapter 9, The Origins of Number 14. Chapter 10, The Chad Billings Game. Chapter 1, The Pits.
Buzz, buzz, buzz.
Welcome to your first game. I'm your man, Chad Billings. This is a high-stakes, challenging game with a big reward. Your only goal is to survive by any means necessary. There are things in the forest that might get you, but I'm sure you will be okay.
A strange, unfamiliar voice says to me. My vision is blurry, and I cannot remember how I even got here. My head is throbbing with a sharp pain that shocks my entire body. I feel something around my neck, but what is it? As I reached for my neck, I was instantly shocked, and I felt intense pain. It was at this moment that the voice came back on.
I wouldn't do that number 14 if I were you. Those are shock collars, and you will die if you try to remove them more than 3 times a day. Each shock will be more intense than the last one. We have analyzed your body through a special body recognition program using the Billings chip model CZ8 and can detect in real time if you're trying to remove the collar. The collar is used to track your vitals. It's a bit primitive, but just bear with me. You have to wake up and get to the other side of the forest before the timer gets to 0.
Just then, a timer appears in the sky and begins counting down. The timer displayed something, but I couldn't even read it. Then I heard another voice next to me.
We have 1,000 hours to reach the other side of the forest?
The unknown voice said. How could this person read the timer? I could see the birds, scenery, and insects in the environment, but that was it.
Congratulations, number 33. You can read the timer because you are an assistant. Let me explain the basics of this little game before you all get trapped and eaten.
The mysterious voice tells us we are divided by classes and roles. The 4 classes were Assistant, Mule, Archon, and Pithlusier. Each group was labeled with letters A through E. Each group had 4 members who all shared distinct roles. It wasn't until later that we would find out the extent of these classes and roles. According to the voice coming from the sky, the classes determined our skills and stats. It's as if we were living in a game, but this was no game, as we would later find out. The assistant class had eyes blessed by the gods. They could see hidden objects. They knew every language of both Earth and other worlds, and they could heal injuries. Their job was to support the other classes. The Mule class had the strength of 100 men. They could run for prolonged periods of time and felt little pain. The Arakan class were hunters and made accurate traps that would rival even the world's most excellent sniper. These long-distance warriors were known as the loved heroes of what we would know as the Chad Billings Games. Lastly, there was the Pit-Luzier class. Madness would set in the minds of those who obtained this class. They wielded a power so destructive the other classes would soon hunt them down. They were originally known as the class of creation. They created items, buildings, and weapons from their body. However, number 101 would soon be the reason this class was hunted to the brink of extinction. Classes had skills, roles gave additional skills, and each role determined which weapon one wielded based on the stats and class. After a few moments, my vision became clear again. I saw a mass of other people. According to the mysterious voice, there were 112 of us. He wished us good luck on our journey before he vanished. The next time we would hear that voice again was after making it past the pits. My name before this remains a mystery, as I have no memory of my life before this day. How did I know how to talk, walk, or even the language? What brought me here? All those questions remain unknown. The only rule was not to die in the forest. In my mind, I wonder what awaited us in the forest. I guess I will figure that out another time. But I vowed to make it past the forest to Jericho. That mysterious voice told us of a city of the gods filled with rivers of light and gold. A place where all our dreams would become reality. I am number 14. The sun is setting, and I don't know what awaits us. I see a girl with green hair beside me, so I talk to her. Maybe she knew where we were, but that was wishful thinking. I begin to speak. Hey, I'm number 14. Do you know where we are and what this game is? She just looked at me and said she had no idea. I told her I was going to the forest and asked if she wanted to join me. She agreed because it was better than waiting to die. However, just as we were about to leave, a red-haired skinny guy asked if he and his friend could join us. Thus, the four of us began to venture out. I was number 14, the green-haired girl was number 13, the red-haired boy was number 88, and the red-haired boy's friend was number 101. As we are walking towards the forest's entrance, we hear a new voice.
Hello, I am your navigation guide. You can call me Kimia. I am here to guide you to the city of Jericho. Now, registering you as Group E, you are the 5th group to have entered this forest. Now, assigning roles to your team. Team leader is number 14. As a team leader, you can borrow the strength of your team members, and you gain additional strength and speed. However, upon death, your entire team will also die via Jericho's guillotine. Number 14, you are of class Blitzkrieg. Blitzkrieg is an unknown and volatile new class. Little is known about it, for only 2 people have ever obtained it, including yourself. Some say it's similar to the Pit-Luzier class, which can create objects from their body. Item creation is only limited by your imagination. Please keep in mind, all skills are currently at level 1. You can only use a skill 2 times a fight at level 1, however, upon leveling up it will be increased. All skills have a cool-down time, which, upon use, you will have to wait to use it again. Each class and role has a skill. Number 13, you are assigned as Lieutenant. You can act as a team leader if the team leader is captured or critically wounded. You are of the class Arakan, and can create traps to lure and decapitate enemies. Your accuracy with long-range weapons is high. Number 88. You play the role of Pawn. During battle, you gain an extra 50% health when your life force reaches 0. This skill acts as a respawn. You are of the Mule class, which allows you to carry infinite items. And finally, Number 101. Your role is Soldier, which allows you to use any of your teammates' weapons without needing to know that skill. You are of the class Pit-Luzier.
As Kimia said this, she also explained things about the forest and how many other people had fallen in the forest. The forest had deadly creatures, but defeating a creature gave the team points. At the end of each checkpoint, we could cash them in to level us up. The teammate with the highest points got an extra 500 points. However, greed would soon be our downfall, for what awaited us. In the forest that we knew nothing about, the death count so far was 26. The number of people who started was 112. I started thinking about how strange it was that not even a day into this journey, there were only 86 of us left. However, soon, I would know why. Deadly monsters were not the only thing this game had to offer. There were threats that we would later find out were worse than death. The second we crossed the entrance of the forest, a red fence covered what seemed to be the entire area. At first glance, it seemed to be a dome. However, it was shaped like a box. It seemed to be keeping the monsters in, or maybe to keep us from running. Number 88 tried going back, for you could hear screams of terror inside the forest. However, this fence blocked us by giving us all a shock. So now we were trapped. The only way was forward. As we were walking, we saw a pit in the ground. We had seen weird traps all about and heard the drums of battle. Nothing could prepare us for the incoming carnage we would soon witness. I was unsure what would happen next, but we all had to be prepared. There was a creature in front of us. This creature looked like an ape, but had two red horns coming out of its head. Its fur was silver, and it stood towering over us, for it was as big as the trees. My user interface appeared, and I got some info on the creature. You see, in our heads, we could display information on the environment around us, as if we were computers. This would soon be helpful. However, you needed to have encountered the enemy or item before more information was unlocked. Each class had different information, and the assistant class was a step ahead of the rest in terms of info. You see, the assistant class had the most information on the world, for that class was supposed to support the entire team. As I scroll for what to learn, I see a list of weird information. The list included the Wayward, Sergio Webster, Bruce Odesky, the Gillicooner, the Dark Arts, the Vent People, the Children of the Glimmer, Glimmer Prime, Earth, and more. I had no idea what any of these were supposed to be, but thankfully, it gave me essential information that the mysterious voice or Kimia had not told us about. Thankfully, the ape hadn't spotted us yet, so that I could look up the info. However, according to the user interface in my head, it told of a creature that resulted in humans splicing DNA and extracting synthetic proteins from the bones. The UIOI, which stood for User Interface of Information, was the name of this strange device. All one had to do to activate it was think about it. We would soon find out the terror this monster held. This monster was eating the bones and flesh off of the dead people who had met their horrific end here. In the pit, there was just blood everywhere. However, I was determined to fight this beast. I had to win and find out the secret behind this game. This would be no easy task, for the sun had set, and there were no lights about in the forest. Would we meet our fate here? We wouldn't, even if we had to fight tooth and nail to come out on top. My name is number 14, and this is a story filled with war and passion. Some might say love, others might say madness. However, nothing would stop me from reaching my only goal, or so I thought. What does this strange place have in store for me? I guess you have to stick around to find out. Number 101 begins to vomit, for the smell of corpses is about in the air. However, the beast finally saw us, and soon we would be in a battle of life or death. The beast begins to roar, a sound so terrifying that one would be paralyzed with fear from the sound it emitted. It attacked us with its horns, charging at number 13. We suddenly hear a voice from the sky.
Starting battle number 1, Group E versus the silver-horned ape.
What did that even mean? It swung its arms and charged at us. Soon number 13 would seemingly be impaled by this creature. It was then my body moved on its own. I thought of a sword that could burn even the wind itself. A weapon that could burn even in water, so I created Blitzgrave, sword style. This weapon was heavy, but when I swung this weapon, pillars of fire launched out of its blade. Number 13 was saved, but her cunning skills would prove helpful in the future. Number 13 created traps for the beast and created a bow and arrow. She was quickly imbued with a blinding ray of light. How are we doing this? The gods must have been blessing us. Number 88, however, would soon be attacked next. The silver-horned ape attacked and attacked, breaking through the trees and finally hitting our teammate, number 88. He soon was a lifeless corpse. However, he came back 10 seconds later. Number 88 soon found out he had a bag in his arsenal. This was the weapon of the mule class. The bag could capture items and throw them back at monsters. Number 101 created a cage for this beast that had spikes on it. The beast was captured, and we finally had an opening. With all of our might, we attacked and attacked. This battle lasted until dusk. I used Blitzgrave. Sword style, number 13 used her bow, number 88 picked up rocks and threw them at the creature using his bag, and number 101 was binding the ape with his cage. Eventually, I dealt the final blow to this creature, and we could finally rest. A voice finally spoke from the sky.
Congratulations, Group E, you have slain the silver-horned ape. Experience has been granted to your team. Please head to the next area in this zone. Checkpoint 1 completion progression is now at 5%.
We were exhausted, tired, and hungry, but we soon discovered this was a survival game. This was a pit of dead people, and soon we would all beg for death. My name is number 14, and this began the Chad Billings game. There were things other than monsters we would run into. This game was far from over. Chapter 2, The Four Kings. After our battle, things were similar but never the same. We would fight many of the silver-horned apes. However, they were all different. Some would be stronger, some faster, and some different sizes, but they all met the same fate. It was when we reached the core of the pit that things changed. You see, the experience gained from the monsters slain could be distributed throughout the team before reaching the checkpoint. We needed strength to beat these apes. However, soon, we would find ourselves handicapped and going down a path that nobody was ready to walk. Maybe it had been days or weeks, but we leveled and leveled. We soon learned a terrifying secret about these apes. It happened during the night of our 17th day in the forest. We heard screams like we did every night. However, each time we went to where the screams were coming from, it was then we realized the fate of all who entered the Chad Billings games.
Guys, another scream. I think the screams are getting more consistent.
Number 88 says, I think you're right. We need to prepare ourselves for a battle with these apes. I say to my team. We walked further and further. However, this time was different. We see buildings, fire, and a vast community. A place created no doubt by someone who wielded the Pithlusier class, if the words of Kimia were to be believed. I'm talking about vast landscapes with buildings that reached the heavens. There were structures made of strange metal with glass windows where one could see themselves. It was as if we were looking at ourselves through the ocean's reflection. However, what greeted us was a community of not fellow people but apes. There were at least 15 silver-horned apes, and at their center was a bigger ape. This ape had black skin and stood towering above the rest. In its hands was a club, and it roared something so terrifying it sent shivers down our spines. Would this be our end? I asked myself many times that day. However, good fortune had smiled on us. We began to attack these creatures. But this time, I gave our team the experience points we had gained till now. We had 25,000 points. It was then life changed, and our group would be known as the Worst Group. The name given to us would soon be the Dark Harbingers of Death. We created the Yvonne Luker Capital, a place filled with advanced technology that could rival the people who created this forest, and soon we would have everyone in the world against us. We would find a way to alter the shock collars, modify the CZ8 chip, and become unmatched for a while. When I used our group's experience points, my UIOI started going off. I felt a sharp pain in the back of my head. It was so bad I couldn't breathe. Life seemed to be fading. This was the price to pay for using the experience points before we reached the end of the checkpoint. It was here I entered a door. I walked through the door and saw it. In front of me stood 4 kings of Jericho. They asked me if I sought power to win this game. I was dying. I felt I couldn't breathe, so I told them yes with all the remaining strength I had left. The kings told me they would give us all unmatched power until we reached Jericho. Nito Barnabas, the king of the silent wind, went to number 13. Hagaropius, the king of mischief, went to number 88. Fogeron, the king of the elements, went to number 101. Finally, Yepitar Magnus, the king of the forgotten lands, went to me. I hadn't felt a pain like this before. We all soon became like gods, and a new reality would set in. Number 13 had the power to be as quiet as a calm wind. Nobody would hear her coming. She could shoot tornadoes from her palms or imbue her arrows with wind. Even with power, her heart was never corrupted. Number 88 could transmute any item he possessed. He could turn a stick into any weapon. It was mind-altering, for he altered the minds of others with illusions and trickery. Number 101 had the power to cast any element. He could burn things at will or freeze the surface. He wielded every element, including light and darkness. This power would make him feel like he was a god. However, I, number 14, went mad. I became the ruler of mankind. I knew all knowledge of the world. In my hands, I could create life, or turn anything into dust. I had a voice in my head telling me things. It was a constant fight between murdering people who got in my way or giving life to this land. It would be number 13 who would pull me back into grace, love, and forgiveness. Thus, on this day, we became terrifying and soon easily wiped out the entire community of these monsters. It was here we learned the truth. When we defeated the black-horned ape and all its offspring, they all reverted to humans. It was then the UIOI updated. This broke me and my team. It told us that all monsters were once humans. Not just any humans, but people of other groups. Groups would see us as monsters. How twisted this game was. But soon, my determination to complete this game to punish Chad Billings was my only obsession. And soon, the thought they were humans would not affect us. We killed without remorse. The only ones of us who thought this to be wrong were numbers 13 and 88. However, number 101 became obsessed, and we would reach Jericho soon, or so we thought. Chapter 3. The Thief.
String him up. Kill that bastard. Kill that thief. Kill that traitor.
Voices shout and scream. Just then, a boy is strung up by a rope by his neck, and his hands are bound. The boy looked terrified as blood trickled down his head to the ground. A group of Arachons begin filling his body with arrows. You could hear screams of pain.
We have to save him now.
Number 13 tells us. However, the voice in my head told me to wait. Should I help this poor soul, like number 13 wanted to do? Or should I wait? Number 88 tells me to snap out of it, and we rush to save this boy. Number 88 begins the first attack. He appeared as a strange man in a white and gold cloak.
Hello, I'm your man, Chad Billings, and you have reached the final part of this game. Release the boy and you will make it to Jericho.
Number 88 said.
If you are him, what's my number?
A stranger asks. However, number 88 had me to tell him what to say. I knew things would turn from bad to worse if this plan did not work. Number 88 soon speaks the words I told him to speak.
You are number 47 of the class Mule. Not only that, but I have been watching you, child. You have what no other number has. It is that you are a leader. Tell me why you have strung up this poor soul.
The stranger was shocked. You could tell by his facial expression. Soon, he told everyone to get this stranger down. The strange kid was number 47, and the boy who was about to be executed was number 100. According to this small camp, number 100 had been found stealing food from the storage. This camp seemed to be thriving, but seemed to lack the appropriate means to keep a society running effectively. However, this would be the part of the story where real hardships began. In the heart of new mankind, or what was left of us after 3 weeks, the remaining amount totaled to be 69, for 43 souls met their end. However, no, we knew what we needed to do, or so we thought. It was here we stumbled over a camp where we saved number 100, and soon we wished we had never helped him. Some hardships helped one grow, but the only thing that helped was getting rid of the groups faster, for death was racing at the remaining people who survived. In the heart of a thriving and bustling camp, nestled deep within the depths of the forest, its residents were filled with uneasiness and fear. Between the sight of people turning into monsters after death and the scarcity of supplies, all were on the edge. Water, wood, food, and shelter started slowly vanishing. This was strange, because people here would go hunting for the entire camp 9 hours a day, so where had the supplies disappeared to? This camp would have to figure that out, but what was sure was that there was talk that it was either a thief or a creature of the woods.
We need to find this thief. If we don't, we won't make it to Jericho.
A voice said.
Forget Jericho. We need to find the person responsible now.
Another voice says. There was confusion in the camp, but what could they even do? This camp went from a close-knit community to everyone driven mad with paranoia. Life was looking bleak, hopeless, and dark. We had stumbled on this camp after defeating the black-horned ape and its offspring. We walked aimlessly for what seemed to be hours. However, after 3 weeks of starting this game, we finally found survivors. Before this, the only humans that could be heard were dying humans screaming in the forest. We were still shaken that these monsters were all once humans. How could we be forced to murder our brothers and sisters? Why did Chad Billings pit us against each other? It didn't make sense till after we got to this camp. Here, we learned about the dangerous games of Chad Billings, for the game had more dangers to witness. We were in for a bumpy ride. One night, the moon lit up the environment with its luminance. A soft glow pierced through the shadows, ripping through the darkness, and all were sleeping except the 4 of us. Number 13, number 88, number 101, and I were all wide awake. We saw a shadowy figure who slinked through tents, stealthily and nimble. We approached the unknown figure, and when we reached him, we instantly knew who he was. It was number 100. I became enraged, and it was like a trickle effect, infecting the minds of my teammates like a parasite that latched on their very minds. However, number 13 and number 88 had strong minds, but number 101 succumbed to my madness. What the hell? After saving you from the angry mob, why would you keep doing this? You know what, I don't care. We won't let you hurt another soul. We have judged you, and you will meet your fate here, number 100. You could see the fear in the boy's face. I had studied Earth, which even told of famous people. I had an idea. I wouldn't kill this thief at first. However, when I was with number 101, it was like we both became different. I tell number 101 to make a wooden cross and nails. We proceed to drive nails through the boy's hands and feet. Thus, on this day we crucified this thief. Number 13 and number 88 screamed at us.
You are taking it too far. We did not get these powers to be gods, but to survive.
However, their screams fell on deaf ears, for knowledge fueled my passion. Why else were we given these powers by the kings but to enact judgment? I was furious, for I was thrust into this sick game by force, and when there was finally a light at the end of the tunnel, I was judged by my teammates. I wished number 88 would shut the fuck up. He just nagged and nagged, crying like a baby. I finally utter words, and it was from this point on nobody would question me and number 101. Number 88, your mouth is stitched up for 3 hours and you are limbless. You never got Hagaropius's power, I said out loud. Just then, number 88 started reaching for his mouth and acted like nothing would come out. He tried and tried, but you could only hear grunting noises from him. He soon fell to the ground. People came to his rescue after hearing the commotion, and they quickly asked what was wrong. However, number 101 met them with a blade and soon cut them down. 1, 2, and soon 10. It wouldn't stop. We both felt a surge of power fueling our passion for destruction. However, number 13 came to me and started hugging me with tears in her eyes.
It's okay. I know you are scared and don't know what to do. However, killing senselessly is not the answer you seek. Don't go down this path of destruction.
she said to me. For some reason, this calmed me down. The anger I felt before vanished. The voices in my head disappeared, and now there was a calm. However, the seeds had already been sown, and number 101 would not stop killing. He felt invincible, and who would stop him? We soon told everyone about catching the thief, number 100, and that we felt other friends of his were coming. Things seemed to die down, but they came to fear number 101 in their hearts. If a pith lusier designed to create items could be this savage, all of them must be. It happened slowly, but the four of us would be separated soon. The thief was locked up for a week. However, by the time he would be released, he would beg for death, for only 30 of us would be left. There would also be the timer, too. It would read 373 hours left. Our time was running out, and soon we would need to leave this camp. Surprisingly, we had only reached it halfway through Checkpoint 1. Chapter 4, The Banquet of Blood.
One could feel the breeze of the air on the skin. One could feel the sun's radiant kiss from a small iron slit. One could only dream of making it to the beautiful city of light. They told us of heroic stories of the 4 kings of Jericho. We found about these kings from the UIOI, or User Interface of Information. As time passed, more information would be shared. The assistant class held vast knowledge of this world. I was jealous that the class I was gifted with was Arikon. My role was soldier. I could wield any of my teammates' weapons now. However, that did not matter now, for I was locked up in a cage built by number 101. You see, in this world we were known by numbers, not names. According to Jericho's laws of taboo, those who were given names were kings. Everyone else had numbers. The worst part was that the voice from the sky did not equip us with the whole truth. Sure, Chad Billings told us this forest was dangerous. He even said we would get eaten by monsters. However, he did not tell us of the anomaly called Jericho's Blight. Every specific time frame, events would take place. They had 3 grades. Grade C was vile and transformed the perception of random individuals. We would see our comrades as mutant beasts and only enemies to be slain. Grade B would cause a sickness we would name Jericho's Blight. Those infected would die quickly due to dehydration or frostbite. Their corpses would either be hot to the touch, or you could see icicles in the air. Grade A was the worst, for it caused environmental hazards. I'm talking about thunderstorms, tidal waves, tornadoes, and other natural disasters. My name is number 100, and this is the tale of madness. This is the account of the world's greatest threat. His name would be forever remembered in history as the Shadow Man. He ripped the light out of everything he touched, demanded blood sacrifice from all, and sought knowledge above all, but respect was required from this savage beast. If you feared the black-horned apes, this man would make you realize these were mere fairy tales in comparison. His name was number 14. His friends tried to save him from his fate, but in the end, he would make us all bow before his presence. I sometimes wish I could have gone back to that time and seen how pathetic my life of thievery was in comparison. I am number 100, and this is my story. There was a camp in the dark forest where screaming could be heard. Screams of pain echoed through our skulls, ears, and hearts. We could do nothing for the poor souls that met their end here. Our hearts broke for our fallen brothers and sisters. However, this camp was the last haven. It held the last bastion of remaining groups who had survived thus far. We all wanted to reach Jericho, but we did not have the means to attain that silly pipe dream. I planned to steal some food and flee alone. I would abandon my silly team. In this world, it was every man for themselves. However, I was quickly found and caught by number 14 and 101. This was before we knew they were blessed with the anomaly. The anomaly was a mystic power that granted a dying team's leader the power of kings. Certain conditions had to be met. One of these conditions is that a team had to have at least 25,000 points or be of the class Blitzkrieg. Very little is known of the Blitzkrieg class except those who held that class title were mad. Maybe mad isn't the right word for them. They were insane. After I was caught, number 101 created a cage in the ground where I was to serve a week. I was deprived of food and only got water from the remains from rainfall. Was this my fate? I felt like I would suffer a fate far worse than death. However, on the 5th day my eyes were open. It was on day 2 when I heard people's screams. A faint voice in the sky could be heard. Somehow, it reached the cage I was in.
Now commencing penalty grade B for 2 days.
The peculiar voice echoes throughout the air. What the hell was going on? I heard screams of pain and death for 2 entire days. I saw smoke, but the air also felt cold at times. After 2 days, I heard another voice echoing throughout the world.
Now commencing penalty grade A and C.
Just then I heard more screams, and a wet substance entered and filled the cage up to my kneecaps. My heart is racing, pounding and thrashing. Sweat starts forming on my forehead, back and palms. The screams were getting fainter and fainter as time passed. This lasted for 2 days, and on the 5th day, it finally happened. The cage swings wide open. What greeted me was a red and green-haired pair. They told me their friends were lost. They said number 14 and 101 snapped, and they were lost. They were forcing people to worship and follow them as if they were gods. Number 13 told me of the accounts of this madness, and I was left shaken and terrified.
I am so sorry. Number 13, I gave in to the madness of this power. I feel in my heart the darkness grasping at me to give in. I try every single fucking day to be good. I want to make it out and see you survive. You are so beautiful, my light in the darkness, and I'm grateful for your support. I hope I'm worthy to be redeemed.
Number 14 said tearfully to me, "My name is Number 13, and I feel like I had gone through literal hell and back with Number 14. He was growing on me and had a handsome face. I can't lie. My heart skipped a beat for this boy. I was growing to like him more and more. However, the gods of this planet had not given my friend good luck. He had the most challenging time battling an eternal battle constantly. I would catch him talking to himself, and when I asked about it, he would laugh it off. However, Number 101 had tasted blood once, and his thirst for violence became insatiable. It was Number 101 who created this monster. When the first wave of death came, Number 14 was on the edge. He screamed and screamed, talking about things that made no sense.
Number 13, I have seen gods, and they are beneath us now. I have witnessed a world filled with pain and madness. From Sergio Webster to the Lady of the Wayward, from Planet Earth to Glimmer Prime, from the Queen of the Spatial Expanse to the Ohio Man, from creation to dust. I have witnessed life itself. I hear a man calling my name. He promises me power. He tells me to find and slaughter Chad Billings. He told me how to win. However, so much static could be heard in my ears till they bleed. I am scared, Number 13, that the darkness will consume me. I want so badly for all of us to be together, but I fear I will scare you away.
Number 14 said to me. Number 14 said he saw a new message on the UIOI that read, "Override command, admin, file N14, C-blitz, sequence 44. He said it over and over with tears in his eyes, and then he stopped. He then began to speak in a low, dark, and vile tone.
I was born from the malice of broken hearts, from the dust of Jericho's grave. For the sins of this thief, for betraying his fellow comrades, he will witness death of not him, but the remaining. Let the strong prosper in this new world. Let this blight be your very redemption. Let chaos begin. Now initiating protocol. Blitzkrieg Volgumier Solitz."
As he said this, a mysterious voice could be heard from the sky. It said that the penalty grade was to be activated, one after the other. It would not stop.
Number 13 said this with tears in her eyes. She told me to run as fast as I could, so I did, and in my heart, I would never look back and live out my remaining days knowing I had been saved from my poor choices. However, the next time I would see any of this group again was when we all were standing in front of a new city. That city would be called the Yvonne Luca Capital. Until we meet again, Number 13. Godspeed.
Chapter 5. The Speech of the King. Knowledge fueled my passion for murder. Death was beautiful. Red-stained corpses were all about, soaking the once beautiful green grass, and those deemed inferior would now burn. I led us all out into Checkpoint 2. We would need to learn how to survive. After the grade penalties were activated, I knew of our impending demise. The closer the timer got to 0, the worse the penalty was. We could not stay here forever. How did I know this? The king's power granted to me opened my mind to endless possibilities. However, I never told anyone I started having memories of another life. It was fragmented and hazy, but I remember running in the desert in Ohio with another person. This person had a name. I could not remember what her name was. but we stumbled upon a dark, eerie abomination. All I could clearly remember was that dreadful song playing on repeat. It went as follows. Ohio, where did you go? Ohio, death requires bloody stones. I am the Ohio man. Tell your kids, tell your friends, tell the city and the folks. I am the Ohio man. Tell your lover, tell your mother. Today, you walk and run. Tomorrow, you fly to the sun. If it's hallowed, shoot 'em dead. Good night, wretched soul, you are dead. Ohio, Ohio, Ohio. I come for vengeance, I come for blood. Here is a rope, here's a chain. Beloved, death, rip my veins. This sent shivers down my spine. However, even with all of my knowledge, it would be later when we would find the truth about this game. Chad Billings was the devil, just toying with people's lives like playthings. However, things would get worse before they got better. I led people to checkpoint 2, but in order to get past this checkpoint, we needed to fight a woman. Her name was Kali Brax Tinvini, a woman bred from the heavens and who was birthed from the soils of pure magic. Combat was all she knew, for she came from a place within Jericho's walls called the Wayward. You see, after the grade penalties, it was here we made our final choices. I was once optimistic about making it to Jericho, but I was battling a war inside my head. I knew by the time we made it to that beautiful city, we would all be dead. We couldn't survive another grade penalty. We were all dying. Thus, it was here I gave my speech. Hello to the remaining people that have survived. You all want to make it to live another day, but I say we won't make it. We won't make it to Jericho alive. For that reason, I must say let's create our own Jericho. Fuck Chad Billings and this dark, twisted game. Will we grovel in the dirt like a lamb to the slaughter? No. We will rise and stand tall. We will cross this forest no matter the price. We will build peace and love and slaughter all who oppose us. All those who oppose us will be sent to the forever lands. When our enemies beg for mercy, none will be given. This game has cost us the love within our hearts. It was ripped out when I saw the terrors this game had to offer. I am number 14, bow before your God, I slowly said to the people. I was mad, and things would become worse. To my surprise, they started cheering and singing my praises. However, it was the look that number 13, 88, and 47 gave me. Just in case you have forgotten, number 47 was the man we first found trying to kill that thief when we first arrived. There was a small group that was always to themselves. I was losing my friends and often told number 101 about this. However, soon, I would meet someone who never would judge me for being a good person. I angrily say to myself, we had to cast away emotions of love, for death did not grant us that life. Chad Billings sent us all to our deaths. So why the fuck do our friends hang on to the shitty fantasy? Be a good person this, be a good person that. I am fucking tired because when you guys were driven into power, the only thing I got was madness. It's a constant fight amongst myself. I feel like it doesn't matter. I didn't pick this life, man. I want to make it out of this game. My once old friends said nothing and just silently held their heads down in shame as if they were disgusted at what I had become. So I began to walk away. I was broken and felt empty. I deserved happiness too, and someone to tell me it would be okay. However, number 101 started walking up behind me and told me it would be okay. At least number 101 had my back, regardless. Then we are greeted by two girls. They introduced themselves as numbers 72 and 74. They said I did not have to go at this alone anymore, that we could all be friends, and if people only were by my side during the easy times, they didn't deserve me. Number 72 hugged me tightly, and I embraced her. Number 74 kissed me on the cheek. Where had these people come from? It did not matter, for now, I had people who would follow me to glory. I told everyone to get ready, for everyone had the right to know of our current situation. Once the timer reached 0, we would most likely all be killed. However, we needed to make it to the checkpoints. I explain how the game worked so far. We were tasked with making it to the city of Jericho, and the only way we knew where we were was because of the CZ8 chip. No grade penalties would be activated without the chip. Thus, there would be no monsters. I told everyone that we needed to make it to checkpoint 2. According to the navigation guide, the UIOI, and my knowledge of this vast world, we had a total of 3 checkpoints. We needed to leave this place. I told everyone about the anomaly and that we had the powers of kings. However, would this instill fear in their hearts? Or would we band together to take down what awaits us? Chapter 6. Before the Forgotten Lands of Yepitar Magnus. She had eyes that could make men shiver with paralyzing fear. The eyes were the gateway to the soul, and with one look, one stare, one gaze, a person could tell her heart was the darkness itself. She looked confident because she had the skill to take down mortals. However, ever since the King of the Forgotten Lands picked me, my mind was beyond the maximum capacity of any mortal. I knew my brain was evolving. But what was the price for this intelligence? It was pure madness, and only number 13 realized this. I would soon cast away all emotion and don a new identity. No longer would numbers be used to identify me. I was no longer a number, but everyone would call me by name. I was known as Babel, a king of this world, the god of this universe, and who would stop me? For in my heart, I was broken. I cried, for my mind was dying. My mind was being reborn, and something sinister would take its place. Numbers 88 and 13 created a void in my heart, which hurt just thinking about it. My once beloved comrades created a black hole to suck me into despair. I did everything for this group just to be cast away like garbage. Number 101 told me I needed to look forward, but I couldn't. He did not understand, for all he cared about was power. But I wanted so desperately to be good, to be loved, to be someone. There was a little bit of love and hope in my heart. It wasn't until numbers 72 and 74 told me it was okay to feel emotion, but I had a job to do, and I could lean on them, for they promised to stick by me till we all died. I embraced the two of them. I interlock my fingers with number 72's finger. I could feel the warmth radiating from her. I smelled a sweet fragrance emitting from her body. She pressed her body against mine. I could feel her breasts on my chest. They were round, soft, and big. She then kissed me. When her lips connected to mine, I felt so many sensations that I had never felt. My heart called out for her, my body began to tingle, and I felt something growing inside me. Was this normal? I have no idea. I felt like I might explode. Number 74 finished it off by kissing my neck and eventually going down further and further. These two girls were intense, and I had no idea what to do. She then pulled my pants down and sucked my dick back and forth. You could hear gagging sounds, but the only sound I heard was pure bliss. Gawk, gawk, gawk. That sound could be heard over and over. This was a new feeling. If I died here, I would be fine, for I had reached enlightenment finally. I threw the girls on the ground next to a soft patch of grass and pulled down their pants and underwear. I stuck my dick inside of number 72 and began to fuck her. I started a thrusting motion. First, it was slow, and then it began to pick up speed. Like a car accelerating, I felt unstoppable, and number 72 began to scream. I would rotate between the two girls over and over again. I fucked number 72, fucked number 74, number 74 fucked me, and I her. An endless cycle that felt like bliss. I finally climaxed after 4 hours. It felt great, and I had a glow in my heart since that day. This would last for a while. I loved these two girls, and they loved me. I then began to make sure everyone was ready for the fight. The timer time was glitching and had weird symbols on it. It would change from around 200 hours left to symbols that read, Error, 829.77.11.02. But I rallied the remaining people. There were now exactly 33 of us remaining. We must fight for our fallen brothers and sisters. We must fight for the hope they all instilled inside our hearts. We must keep moving on. My mind has been opened, and from this day forward, we will make it not to Jericho, but we will make our city fly in the clouds, sail on the waters, and glide through the grass. This enemy is far greater than the last monsters we have encountered, for she was birthed through war, through combat, through pain. She remembers when a man called Sergio Webster cut her down with ease. Her name is Kaylee Braxton Vini. We will then, but before we fight her, we must train, for you guys will never win against her in your current state. We go now to the Forgotten Lands. However, if we go, some of us have to stay. I have put together a list of people who have to stay. They are numbers 4, 6, 9, 10, 13, 27, 29, 46, 47, 48, 88, 90, and 91. You 13 must fight and protect the remaining camp. The rest of us will go into the Foreverlands, where King Yepitar Magnus resides. I entrust this camp in your capable hands until we meet again, I said to everyone. There was nothing said, for everyone knew I was right. I felt like we would go through literal hell. Was my mind strong enough for this ordeal? We learned some frightening stuff, however, during our voyage. I had my friends to keep me company. This was only the beginning, or so I thought. Chapter 7. Enter the Forgotten Lands of Yepitar Magnus.
A portal opens, and those left to protect the camp are left behind. Nobody knew of the fate of our existence. Would this be the last time we would all share the same breath? Our journey would have many challenges, but we would see the birth of madness, death, misery, and misfortune. Number 14 would be the god of this world. Some called him the Shadow Man, others Babel, but we once knew this seemingly unimportant guy as number 14. My name is number 2, and this is the story of our journey into the Forgotten Lands of King Yepitar Magnus. Before we start this story, I need to clarify some things. You need to understand the Chad Billings Game. You see, the classes and roles made one weaker or stronger. There were 6 classes. However, to most people, there were only 4. The entire list of classes was the following. Archon. Hunters with godlike accuracy. This class used long-range weapons and set up traps to incapacitate their foes. They always hit their marks. Assistant. Knew lots of information about the world without using the UI. They could also see the timer in the sky. Mule. Could carry infinite items and used a bag to throw items at enemies. Pitluzier. Can create objects out of nothing. This class was called the Class of Creation, the most desired class of the game. Blitzkrieg. Had access to administrative commands. They could create grade penalties, create or delete any organism. However, there was a 100-second cooldown time for using this. They could create anything they thought of. In the case of number 14, he created the Blitzgrave weapons, which had 3 styles. The 3 styles consisted of sword style, gun style, and shield style. Blitzgrave sword style was a huge sword that cut through the wind and ignited by flames that couldn't be snuffed out. Blitzgrave gun style was a rifle-like weapon that always hit its target. It adopted properties of the Archon class. With this weapon, one could even create traps. Blitzgrave shield style was an unblockable dome-like shield that could not be destroyed. However, the class could not use any offensive skills with this weapon. Protocols. Had access to infect god classes, such as Blitzkrieg and Assistant, with viruses. When this class touched another, they would steal the abilities of their hosts for 1 hour. While the skills were stolen, the host would be in pain. These thievery classes knew no limits. Only they knew the requirements to access the game's cheat menu. Those who were of this class were few, but the list consisted of numbers 2, 3, 72, 74, and 14. Number 14 was a special case, however, for he was every class at once. Roles determined extra skills used for survival in combat. The entire list of roles was the following: Team Leader, Lieutenant, Pawn, Soldier, Anomalies, and Regents. The game only allowed the first 4 to be assigned. You have to commit taboos to gain the role of Anomalies and Regents. This is the entire list of these roles. Team Leader. Borrow strength of team members, and you gain additional strength and speed. However, upon death, your entire team will also die via Jericho's guillotine. The only role who can give experience points gained from monsters to other members of the team. Lieutenant. Acts as team leader in emergencies, in case the team leader is captured or critically wounded. Pawn. Respawns after death with half health. Soldier. Able to use any teammate's weapons without needing to know that skill. Anomalies. Granted the power of the kings, To become one, the team leader had to have killed 10 other players in cold blood before they turned into monsters, or being on the verge of death while holding the class of either Blitzkrieg or Protocols. In the rare case, they committed both taboos. They would become a supreme anomaly. Supreme anomalies had access to the corruption over data skills. With this skill, there were no limits to his or his team's skills. Essentially, they could use their skills forever. Their levels changed to 99. There was only one person who became a supreme anomaly. However, I don't want to ruin the surprise. Regents, essentially hackers, they could use 1 out of the 3 hacks to give you an edge over the world. However, only those who possessed the class Mule or the role of Pawn could become this role. The hacks consisted of the following: CZX22, CZY9, CZ8B. CZX22 gave the hacker 5 trillion health for 6 hours. CZY9 gave the hacker the ability to teleport for 2 hours. CZ8B gave the user an upgraded CZ8 chip, which increased their stats by 10 for 4 hours. Regents had to wait 30 minutes to use a hack again, and the hacks were randomly selected. Regents and anomalies were mortal enemies. The strongest regents in this game were numbers 3, 2, and 88. The closer your number was to 0, the stronger one would be. Of course, this game was rigged from the start. It wasn't that single-digit numbers were stronger, but they had more tools to survive this game. Well, that was until I met number 14. My name is number 2, and this is the journey of those who went with number 14 to their seemingly inevitable death. This is what happened after we stepped through the portal and arrived in the Forgotten Lands. I looked behind me, and the blue and bright green portal vanished. The floor was made out of strange material that the UIOI called concrete. The sky was dark. There were broken, abandoned buildings all about. You could hear screams about in the air. 1 scream, 2 screams, and eventually an entire multitude of screams. However, we all had no choice, so we followed number 14. Number 14 led a group and designated us to help him. He told us we had to save everyone no matter the cost, so number 101, 72, 74 and I became the closest to number 14. It was here we learned about the truth of number 14. This world had people. It was the first time we had seen living people. However, something was off about these people. They walked strangely, very stiff, and made groaning noises. These people had dark skin, which seemed like they were suffering from dehydration. You could smell the decaying, rotting flesh about in the air. The white parts of their eyes were red, and they had blood about them. One of us tried to converse with them, but it was too late. They started making terrifying screeches, and the masses of people started chasing us like mad men.
Chapter 8. Rotten Apple.
Hey, are you okay? We heard screams and were wondering if you needed any help.
Number 20 says to a bent-over girl. Number 20 was of the Pithlusier class. However, what met this poor soul was a beast. The girl turned towards him and ripped off his hand. His hand was soon in her mouth, and blood was dripping everywhere. Drip, drip, drip. We all heard him scream in pain, but she soon jumped on him, biting, tearing, and eating him whole. Seconds later, number 20 laid a corpse. We soon realized that this place was hell. Suddenly, number 20 rose to his feet, and we were relieved that he hadn't met his fate here. However, to our dismay, he started attacking us. Number 74 soon jumped in the air over the head of number 14 and punched number 20. When she punched him, he vaporized in one hit. Number 14 thanked her for saving him. However, he let us know that we had to make it to the center of this place.
Thank you, my love, savior and light, for saving me. We must all make it to the tower now. I need the aid of numbers 101, 72, 73, and 2. We will lead our people to victory. Blitzgrave. Gun style.
Number 14 said. As he said this, a rifle-like weapon appeared, and we heard a voice from the sky.
Granting number 14 Arachon class skills. Arachon class level is at 86.
What was going on? This was the first person I encountered who could switch classes at will. We all just stared at number 14 for a minute, how he told us to go. But how could he keep this a secret? People started losing faith in him.
Fuck this man. Why the hell would we listen to you? You had the power to save us from the Chad Billings game but did nothing.
A person says. Number 14 asked one question. It was this question that would begin the genocide of the group that arrived in this land.
Does this man speak for you all? Think very carefully about how to respond to my question.
Number 14 said. Some people started saying they agreed with that man who didn't think number 14 was the man to lead us to victory. However, a group of people said they trusted him. So, the people that had number 14's support were numbers 4, 15, 16, 70, 72, 74, 101, and me, number 2. Suddenly, number 14 drew his blitzgrave sword style and started slaughtering people left and right. Heads rolled, blood was everywhere, and screams of death could be heard everywhere. Number 101 used the elements of ice and darkness to trap these souls. They begged and begged, but to no avail, for their pleas fell on deaf ears. Number 72, 74, and I began killing people along with this man. We were no longer kids, but adults forced to do what we must in the name of survival. Soon, there were only 6 people left. I began to speak to number 14, a speech so emotional, it could be felt in the hearts of us remaining. Number 14, we are here because we believe in you. We have seen your leadership and will follow you into glory and victory. I can safely say that we all trust you fully and without question. But I want to talk to you about a very important topic, and I hope you do too. That topic is mercy. What is mercy? Mercy is showing compassion, kindness, and forgiveness to someone who has wronged or hurt you. Mercy is not a sign of weakness but a sign of strength. Mercy is not a way of avoiding justice but enhancing it. Mercy is not a reward for the offender but a gift for the offended. These poor souls are just scared and don't know about this uncertain outcome. You want them to follow you, but trust has to be earned, not given. They need a reason to trust you. Why would anyone follow a seemingly mad man? We weren't all blessed with the tools you have to survive. Why do we need mercy? We need mercy because we are all human and make mistakes. We all have flaws, weaknesses, and shortcomings. We all have regrets, guilt, and shame. We all have been hurt, and we all have hurt others. We all need mercy, and we all need to give mercy. Don't let this game of Chad Billings blind you to the truth. We must stand united. Chad Billings would love nothing more than to have us slaughter our brothers and sisters, but we must rise and stand united to destroy this son of a bitch. How do we show mercy? We show mercy by being humble, admitting our own faults, apologizing sincerely, forgiving generously, understanding empathetically, helping practically, healing emotionally, and restoring relationally. We show mercy by following the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. How can we make it to Jericho if we just give in to our primal nature and kill off those we were supposed to protect? You may be wondering, what are the benefits of mercy? Mercy has many benefits, both for ourselves and for others. Mercy frees us from bitterness, resentment, and anger. Mercy heals us from pain, trauma, and wounds. Mercy restores us to peace, joy, and love. Mercy inspires others to be merciful, creating a ripple effect of kindness, compassion, and forgiveness. Mercy makes the world a better place. I challenge you today to be merciful to yourself and others. No matter what you have done or what has been done to you, there is always room for mercy. Mercy is not easy, but it is worth it. Mercy is not cheap, but it is priceless. Mercy is not a burden, but a blessing. Mercy is not a weakness, but a strength. Mercy is not a duty, but a privilege. Mercy is not a choice, but a necessity. Mercy is not an option, but a command. Thank you, number 14. We will all look towards Jericho with you. You can't change the past, but let's make it better. Tomorrow. Today. May you be blessed with mercy and be a blessing of mercy to others. I, number 2, said to number 14, with tears welling up in his eyes, he asked for forgiveness, and it was here we moved to a better tomorrow, or so I thought. Numbers 72 and 74 touched number 14. It was here that madness and death would ensue. Number 101 never trusted those women, for each time they would touch him, his energy seemed to be drained and he winced in pain. 101 angrily yells at the 2 girls who have been getting closer to number 14.
Your trickery won't work on me, you witches. Stop touching my friend, or you will meet your end here. This is your final warning. The next time you do this, I will have no choice but to kill you.
Number 101 says. The 2 girls smile and say he could try. Just then, numbers 72 and 74 shock collars that everyone had turned a deep purple. Now, they were blessed by the gods of this world. A battle began. This battle would lead to the birth of the Shadow Man. Numbers 101, 72, and 74 are in a battle of life and death, blow after blow. How were these girls keeping up with number 101? However, it was then we learned that number 101 was an anomaly. He threw a barrage of elements at the girls. Fire, ice, wind, and water. But they seemed to teleport. How were they doing this? Well, that's simple. They were of the role of regent. However, it was then number 101 shot a beam of pure darkness at the girls, but they teleported, and it hit number 14 in the head. The fight suddenly stopped, and you could hear a dripping sound. Number 14 had been hit. You could see concern on everyone's faces, but number 14 just laughed a laugh so vile it shook us to our core. Just then, he stopped for a moment and began to speak.
Numbers this, numbers that. You thought you were all so smart. I commend you, number 101. You have always had my back, no matter what, and I think of you as a friend. But these traitors, numbers 2, 72, and 74 must be stopped, for even you have been lying. However, number 2 hasn't tried to kill me yet, so he is forgiven. Don't worry, your speech on mercy has not fallen on deaf ears, but I will show no mercy to these witches. However, I am a merciful man, so one of you will die, pick in 60 seconds, or I will kill you both. I am sick and tired of this game, and only people I have deemed as good for the human race will survive. You two are parasites and are of hidden roles and classes. I could have forgiven you for your sins, but you tried stealing my powers. I realized it when you guys were constantly sick from stealing my stats, skills, and powers. I would have loved both of you forever and taken you with me to Jericho, but it's too late for that now, I'm afraid. I am no longer number 14, for let me tell you a story so you can know my power.
Number 14 said to us all. Number 14 said his memory was altered at the start of the games and didn't come back to him till he was granted the power of the kings. He told us he gave the power of kings to him and his group. Then, he was driven into insanity due to the power of King Yapitar Magnus. He lost his sanity in exchange for endless knowledge. He knew everything and had already calculated this would happen. He told us that his different personalities would come forth under stress, but we shouldn't think of them as personalities, but rather as classes. He said he was in all classes, even the 2 hidden ones. Number 14 told us that numbers 2, 13, 72, 74, 101, and himself had hidden classes. This scared the rest of them. Number 14 told us how he only recently discovered his origins, and this tale would break the foundations of what we knew as the Chad Billings Games.
Chapter 9. The Origins of Number 14. It happened after we met the 4 kings. When I was granted the powers of the King of the Forgotten Lands, it was here that my personality shifted. I could hear the world talking to me. I no longer needed to use the user interface of information or UIOI. I knew everything there was to know about this world. It happened all at once after I slaughtered Group C, a small group of cocky kids. However, you are probably wondering how I did this alone. I didn't do this alone. Hypnosis is a very useful tool. Hypnosis was used to hypnotize my group into helping me. The only person I didn't use this on was number 101. I wanted to test my abilities and be upgraded to the new class, Supreme Anomaly. All the pieces were in place, and now we would have to live with the fact that we killed without remorse. Hello, Group C. We have been watching you for some time. You are a truly lucky group, the only group to have 10 members. I wonder why that is. I have been trying to figure this out, but it wasn't until today that the pieces aligned. You have at least one person who is part of the class protocol. You have been accessing the game's cheat menu. I could never do that, for I have what no cheat could give you. I will kill you all now and take all your experience points. I have to commit a taboo to get stronger. See you in the afterlife. I, number 14, say to the group. You could see them shiver in paralyzing fear. Their hearts started beating faster, but that wouldn't change the fact that they needed to die so that I could evolve. Blitzgrave, gun style, I say. Then, proceed to shoot them. 1, 2, and soon 5. Dripping sounds of their blood trickling down to the ground could be heard. Number 101 used the elements to eradicate 2 of its members. Fire to burn off their flesh, ice to cool their body so they wouldn't die of overheating, wind to slice off their body, light to heal and restore them to a point before they were hurt, and darkness to impale them into the void of space. Number 88 transformed a blade of grass into a spear with the properties of a toxin. He impaled his victims. Number 13 shot arrows made of wind to pierce the flesh of those who tried to escape, but they couldn't escape, for she was too fast. Soon after it ended, only 2 people were left. Number 100, who was of the class Arikon and of the Roll Soldier, was the only one left. I never erased his memory about me. He was terrified of me, but I only erased his memory of my comrades. For if my plan was to work, I needed him to feel safe with number 13. However, the other soul wasn't so fortunate. His name was number 1. I killed him after torturing him for hours before ripping out his eyes and snapping his neck. Now, the conditions of becoming a supreme anomaly were activated. I had many personalities due to the gift King Yapitar Magnus bestowed upon me. Each personality restarted the game with a new class selection. I could eventually be in any role and any class. I had modified the CZ8 chip to bend to my will. Chad Billings was now a step behind. However, I wasn't originally number 14. Our memories were suppressed unless we committed a taboo, but my mind had been opened long ago. I reviewed the gift of the Forgotten Lands and opened my mind here. I was initially number 0 in the Chad Billings game before this one. This game had been going on for 99 years. We were on the 100th iteration of this game. What a foul game, and nobody knew who Chad Billings was, mainly because the game reset along with our memories when we were all dead. We had all been playing the same game repeatedly like an endless loop. We were all just different numbers. Sometimes I was number 103. At other times, I was 44. However, time and time again, we kept losing until now. For I finally figured out the Chad Billings game. Chad was one of us, for he wanted to see the game close up, but he would be someone who seemed unimportant but had enough strength to pull off this crazy stunt. When we leave this place, I will show you guys, for I know you won't believe me. After I ascended into my newly found powers, I knew what had to be done. I was of the class Blitzkrieg after all. I created this place. It was supposed to be the new Jericho if we couldn't make it to the actual city of Jericho, but when numbers 72 and 74 started stealing my powers, this once beautiful place began to crumble, and this became the lands of the Forgotten or the Forgotten Lands. However, don't you worry. When we figure out how to stop that woman named Sally Braxton Vini, I will lead you all into a new light and get rid of this terrible game. From this point on, call me Babel. I have surpassed the number system. We are no numbers. We are great, and I will grant you the power of a name. We were taught only kings have names, but this is because a name in this world is strong and holds meaning. Let's claim what we have lost. Let's venture to the center and speak to King Yapitar Magnus. Chapter 10. The Chad Billings Game.
A portal opens up, and our beloved comrades greet us. Sure, we didn't always get along, but we needed to band together to stop this sick, twisted game of Chad Billings. A figure came out that resembled number 14. However, he was different. He had the white wings of an angel, and it was here I knew he had done it. My name is number 88, and what happened next would shift the fabric of time itself. Number 14 came out with only 8 people. Where had all the rest of the people gone? On their faces, they only had hatred. Then, number 14 finally speaks.
My friends, my family, and fellow remaining residents of mankind, I have found a way to defeat her. That woman who seeks to destroy us is of no concern now, but it pains my heart to let you know we have been tricked and lied to. You see, there are those who hold classes that tip the very balance of this game, for we have been inside this sick game for 100 years. However, the kings of this world have gifted us with what we need to survive. I am no longer number 14. Call me Babel. The man called Chad Billings is amongst us as a wolf in sheep's clothing. His name is number 88. It pains me that the enemy has been amongst us this whole time. I am sorry, friends, and most of all, I am sorry, number 13. I have gone down a path that you may not even forgive me for. I was driven mad, and hatred motivated my choices. I pray one day you can forgive me, for the traitors among us are many. Numbers 72, 74, and 88 are all part of imprisoning us forever. However, I will purge this world of them, I said. Just then, number 88 laughed and then spoke.
I guess you were smarter than I gave you credit for. You see, numbers 13 and 101 were easy to manipulate. Oh no, my crush is this and that. That bitch would never shut up about you. Jesus fucking Christ, love makes me sick. However, in this iteration, I never planned for you, of all people, to get the kings on your side. Well, that doesn't matter. I have admin control, and you won't be able to stop me. You will die here, number 14.
Just then, a man came running to us and shouted,
Stop! It doesn't matter now. I travelled to the last checkpoint by myself, and it was there I saw the city of Jericho. The city is burned to the ground. There is no hope for humanity. What will we do?
The thief, number 100, said. Then I, Babel, told everyone I had the means to destroy Chad Billings. I summoned the sun itself, and all around us, the environment soon enveloped in flames. What was going on? How would this work? And what happened inside the Forgotten Lands? I'm afraid that's a story for another time. To be continued. Thanks for listening to this audiobook. In the next part of the Chad Billings games will we find out the fate of these poor souls who have been thrust into the games. Who actually created this game? What happened in the Forgotten Lands? Find out in the next part.